Welcome to That 80s Show. I'm not coming in loud today because Dori has got a headache. Dori, I hope you're feeling better. I don't want to come shout at you.
I am feeling better. You know, that song helped. It's a very pretty song. It helped.
I thought so. If you're listening live on Cliff Central, obviously you heard The Promise, When in Rome. And if you're listening on the podcast, you didn't hear that, but you can go back and you can listen to it. And When in Rome, you can listen to That 80s Show. When in India, you can listen to That 80s Show. Dori, we've got a lot of listeners from India this past month. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, hello is what I'm going to say, and welcome and thank you. And I mean, everybody should be listening to us around the world, actually.
I think so. And they do. They listen from all over the world. Listeners in Brazil, listeners in Finland. We have listeners. It always blows my mind when I look at where our listeners come from. There's not a lot of them, but they're
do you think they're South Africans in those countries, or are they natives of those countries?
They're 80s fans, and 80s fans do not have a geographic location. You've got a nostalgic location.
No, they have like a time location.
Yes, they're stuck in time. And that's where they are. So Dori, it's been holiday times all around the world, not just South Africa, but all around the world. There's bank holidays and May days and whatever. There's been a lot of holiday times and a lot of time for me to watch movies, not you.
No,
evidently
unfortunately not.
You're working for the weekend.
And the weekdays and the weeknights and the week mornings.
Dori is doing it all. Dori is the hero for all of us, lazy bastards like me, who just sat on the couch for 2 days straight and just watched everything.
I'm so jealous, though.
I know. So one of the things I got into, what I watched was Tetris, the Tetris movie, right?
Oh, I so want to watch it. Okay, is it as great as I expected to be?
Dori, listen, it's about admin. When it first came on our radar, Tetris and Air, the Michael Jordan story, I haven't watched it yet. They're about admin. So they do very well at making admin seem exciting. I mean, they fudge a lot of parts just to, because it is admin.
So hang on, have you watched Air as well?
No, not yet. I haven't watched Air yet. Yeah. So I've watched Tetris. Okay. So it's good, but it's not like I say, it's admin. And there's parts where they're negotiating contracts where they have to film it very well to make it interesting, but there's no way it happened like that. But it's got the whole thing, and the story of Tetris is quite cool because it was developed by effectively a guy who worked for the KGB, and and they had to get it out of the KGB, and it was like international. Gorbachev was really involved in it. Obviously he was involved. It comes at the whole time while the Soviet Union's crumbling. The kind of bad guy who works for one of the newspaper organizations, Robert Maxwell, I subsequently find out Ghislaine Maxwell's father.
Ghislaine.
That one, that person.
That.
She doesn't deserve her name. That blew my mind because you see this guy and he's quite an odious character, and then you go there's a great website, History versus Hollywood, where you go look at autobiographical movies or movies based on true events, and you compare it to the actual true event, and it kind of breaks down characters. Yeah, it's very good. History versus Hollywood. And
cool.
Yeah, while looking at that, I was like, it's her father. I was like, okay, so that's right. But one of the really cool things that they do in it is the music, of course, right? And they have both Russian and Japanese versions of 80 songs, right?
Huh.
And then
you must love that.
Oh, I loved it. And then they also do these 8-bit variations of songs, of 80 songs, right?
Yeah.
To make it sound video gamey. And you can hear it in the trailer. There's Holding Out for a Hero done in Japanese.
Yes, I remember that from the trailer.
Yes, right. And then one of the big songs pops up in the trailer is The Final Countdown by Europe. Okay. So, of course, now you end up in a Europe rabbit hole, as we do.
Yes, we do. Is there much of a rabbit hole for Europe? Why do I remember them being a two-hit wonder?
Dori, but there is. Thanks to Cracked. Thanks to Cracked.com, which at some point, I don't know if we're going to pay them royalties. I hope a shout out every time we use one of the articles is enough. But they took me on a cracked rabbit hole, but linked to Arrested Development, right? So they're telling the story. So basically, of course, Final Countdown pops up in Tetris. People are kind of, hey, what's going on? When you look at the charts, you can see it suddenly like showing up in like downloaded charts and things like that. And so the Final Countdown was a massive hit around the world, 1986. It wasn't Europe's biggest hit because Carrie actually did better. The Final Countdown never really got number one in the States, where Carrie, I think, got to number 3, right? Was it Carrie?
Okay.
Was it Carrie?
I think so.
Oh, Sherry was Journey. Yeah, so is Carrie.
Yes.
Okay. And they did really well, and they were kind of like the European version of Bon Jovi, right? Hair bands, all the things. And they were going to be on a German music program, right? A kind of the top of the pops kind of thing. This is where we start going down the rabbit hole. And they were supposed to perform with Billy Idol. So Europe were performing first, Billy Idol afterwards, right? I imagine at the time maybe performing Rebel Yell. I mean, I'd like to imagine that. They don't say which song.
Yeah, of course. Right.
So they do rehearsal, they do Europe, and then they do Billy Idol. At the actual live tape, so they do rehearsals, but then the actual show is live, right? Europe perform the Final Countdown. Billy Idol refuses to go on afterwards. He says, I can't. He says, I just can't go on and follow that song. The audience had gone crazy. So Billy Idol refused to perform after them because he's like, there's no way.
I mean, chances are the audience would have gone crazy for him too.
If he did, I imagine then he wasn't doing Rebel Yell, because if you follow Final Countdown and Rebel Yell and do that yourself, do that.
Maybe he was doing Eyes Without a Face or something.
Yeah. So are we talking like 86 probably? So I don't know. I can't like off the top of my head say what Billy Idol was doing then. Okay. So then this article carries on to go. So now the lead singer of Europe, his name was Joey Tempest, okay?
Yes.
Not a very Swedish-sounding name, but that was his name.
Probably not his real one.
Probably not his real one, right? So he now talks about this other article that links to from loudersound.com about his interactions with some other 80s artists, right? So he obviously tells this Billy Idol story that Billy Idol refused to perform with him. He tells the story of Tommy Lee and Vince Neil, right?
Okay.
80s Tommy Lee and Vince Neil. We were at a show in San Francisco on the Final Countdown tour. Tommy and Vince came in the dressing room to say hi. They were like high-spirited schoolboys. Very high-spirited, I'm sure. I really like them. In the middle of it all, Vince said, hey, next time let me drive you around the city and show you around. This was right after he was involved in a car accident where somebody died. So they're like, no thanks.
Shit.
We will not be doing that. He then talks about Freddie Mercury and says, I'm afraid we pissed Freddie off. We are at Townhouse Studios in London and we're sound checking drums with a producer. All of a sudden, this face pops out of nowhere, red in the face, fuming, and he shouts, you must be joking. So Freddie was in the room next to us trying to record some opera music and we hadn't closed the door properly. He said, your drums are going straight into our mixing console. Would you please keep it down? I feel that pain. I hate it when people ruin my recordings. Imagine you're Freddie Mercury ruining your opera recording. By
the way,
yeah?
Just quickly, I have Joey Tempest's real name for you.
Oh, yes, give it.
Rolf Magnus Joachim Larsson.
Okay, well, Joey Tempest it is. I'm not even trying that.
Could you get more Swedish?
That is, how many little O's are there on vowels?
No, there aren't any.
Okay, because Scandinavian...
But there are 2 S's in Larson,
okay,
which means it's Swedish.
All right. Yeah, no, Scandinavians love the little O's. I don't even know what you call that. That's that thing.
What? Olomp?
Could be.
I don't know.
He says they were pitched against Bon Jovi a lot. They were trying to create this Europe versus America rivalry. And he says there was no such, they got on well. They performed songs together. They would often go and be on tours, and they even in Tokyo, they performed Get Back by the Beatles together.
I mean, from the back, you wouldn't know who was who.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I can't imagine Joey Tempest's 80s bum in leather jeans. I can think of Bon Jovi. Maybe that's the clue. Who's got the bum Jovi? I think that would have
Bum Jovi.
Right. Of course. Listen, there are loads of them. We're going to put them in the Eddie Show SA Facebook page. David Hasselhoff. Obviously, David Hasselhoff worked a lot in France and Germany. I'd bump into David everywhere. He invited us to the Malibu beach house where Baywatch was filmed. He said he was just the coolest, most relaxed guy. Of course, he meets Bjorn and Benny from ABBA. You're Swedish. They're going to give you some advice. We met them quite early on, round about the final countdown. They made a point on advising us to spend as much time on the actual recording process. Those records of theirs were masterpieces, and not to bother so much with touring. And of course, being Europe, we took that advice on board and did the exact opposite. We spent the next 3 years on the road. But it ends all quite acrimoniously in the 90s because on a wall in Oakwood Apartments, an apartment that belonged to Kurt Cobain wrote on the wall, "Who the fuck is Joey Tempest?"
What?
Oh, that is outstanding. Kurt Cobain, not a fan of, not even a fan of Smells Like Teen Spirit, so he's going to hate. He's going to hate the final countdown. So why I tell you this? So this is now Joey Tempest in the 80s. And then they go, listen, we're typecast, we're the final countdown guys. Like, they had a bit of a revival in 1999, of course, as Prince did, Final Countdown, and Party Like is 1999, 1999, Party Like then. And they said, look, we're on a break. They try to put out new music in 2004, and they go, will people know us? But thanks to the other rabbit hole that I've been in, Arrested Development, people did know them because if you remember Job Bluth, played by Will Arnett, whenever he did his magic shows, he'd play the final countdown.
Yes.
Right. So they're like, oh God, we were this like novelty band with this novelty song. 99 were novelty again. We try to come back in 2004. We're novelty, we're a joke, we're a punchline. And then, you know what? Just lean into it. Just completely lean into it.
I mean, why not?
Exactly.
It's probably what made them rich. I'm sure it made them rich. Definitely made them famous. Like, go with it.
Of course. I mean, there is no better countdown-based song in the world, right? And like, if you do not listen to the final countdown, like on 31st of December, from about 23:57, you will not have a good year.
What did people play before the song came out at that time?
Oh, God. That is such a good point, Dory. That is
Seriously,
such a good point.
What marked New Year's before that song?
Yeah. That requires some research. I'm all researched out because last week I boo-booed. Researched out this week. So, but that is a good thing. I'll make a note to not come back to that. And then in the same cracked article, it says, have you ever actually paid attention to the lyrics of Final Countdown?
I once did, and they were not what I expected them to be.
Yeah, we're heading for Venus. It's like, and it's like people going to live on Venus. What's happened to Earth?
Yeah, it's very sci-fi-ish.
Very sci-fi. But that's what they say. That's why the song holds up. They say it's very avant-garde. It was very much like experimental. And they say that's what kind of resonates now, because even though it's so linked to the 80s, it wasn't of a time, the music. So they tell themselves. But that is the story of Joey Tempest. Who the fuck is Joey Tempest? Kurt Cobain, now you know. Now you know. He's the guy who upset.
So I wonder if he hasn't already been on, when Joey Tempest will be on Smartless, because, come on, it has to happen, right?
Oh, it has to happen. It has to happen. I mean, just his role of honor with so many people that he's met here. I wonder if he's not just going to be on Smartless, if he's going to get himself an invitation or a gift from Tom Cruise. Dory, this story appeared a few weeks ago.
I know this story.
I'm dying to talk about it. Do you want to maybe just intro it a little bit and I can give some of the details?
Well, I mean, I didn't know about it until you pointed it out to me, and it's a very surprising story. First of all, when I think Tom Cruise, I do not think a man who bakes cakes or even has cakes baked, because chances are he's not doing it himself, right? I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. But it seems that Tom Hanks bakes these very famous cakes.
You did it.
Or has them.
You did it. You called Tom Cruise Tom
what?
Hanks. You called Tom Cruise Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It worked because you said Tom Hanks bakes cakes. It kind of works, but it's so easy. You always give me a hard time when I do it, but it's so easy to do.
When you mess up the Toms, and now I messed up the Toms.
I was confused the Toms.
So I think of Scientology and a crazy person when I think of Tom Cruise, not a lovely cake. But it turns out that is one of the things he's probably most known for in Hollywood circles.
Think about that.
Is that he has he has a cake list for his A-list friends.
And
apparently.
And this A-list is fluctuating. It's not like once you're on that list. I imagine a very Larry David type of scenario of who's getting on the list through the year, right? Because it seems that you're not like once you get a cake one year, you're going to keep getting cakes. No, he will change who gets the cakes.
Yeah, I have to say the cake looks delicious.
Do you think so? So let me
oh my God.
Let me describe.
I'm not a cake person, but it looks so good.
Let me describe this cake, right? It is called.
Yes,
it's a $126 coconut bundt cake, right?
I mean, how much is that in rands? That is a very expensive cake.
We're talking 2,000 rand, around over 2,000 rand, right? No nuts.
That is nuts.
There's no nuts.
Sorry.
Okay, coconuts. So Tom Cruise doesn't bake them himself. He buys them from the family-owned Doan's Bakery in California, right?
Oh, so anyone can go and get one of these cakes
if you got $126, and I very much.
But what makes it his special cake? Then?
So
it says
yes.
It says this cake, not his cake. Never mind.
Okay, listen to this. It may be too early to hear something so sweet, right? Depending what time of day you're listening.
Okay.
Chunks of white chocolate laid in cream cheese frosting and dusted with toasted coconut flakes. Pillowy cake. This pillowy cake is good enough to derail the strictest Hollywood diet. That sounds so rich to me.
Oh, but it sounds good and it looks good.
It does look good. It does look good. So now the thing about this cake is that it came out because Brooke Shields, she's like, I'm off the cake list. I was getting cakes for years. Suddenly I don't get cakes. I don't know what I did. I went back on the cake.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. Rosie O'Donnell gushing about the cakes. My Tommy sent me a coconut cake. Jimmy Fallon, Kobe Smulders, the recent celebs talking about it. I wonder how many of these cakes go out. And like you say, so Brooke Shields says she used to get it from the family, Tom Cruise, Katie Holmes, and Suri, but now she no longer gets it. Did she back?
That's because she became a massive Trump supporter. And kind of became all weird alt-right, I think. That must be it.
That could be it.
Maybe she said bad things about Scientology, but I mean, doesn't everyone?
I'd imagine, say Scientology, you're off the cake list.
Maybe.
It's risky business if you're going to... You're going to get kicked off Tom Cruise's cake list. But it's so fascinating. I mean, so Kobe Smulders from How I Met Your Mother, when she was on Fallon, if Jimmy Fallon is so good, I leave it in my freezer until March and I chip away at it slowly. Like when people get this cake, they savor the cake, which implies that you can't just go buy the cake. Right?
Okay, yeah, because I mean, price wouldn't be an option for them. Like, it wouldn't be an object, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to
wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not just available to anyone.
Yeah, you can't just go buy this cake. And in the research of it, there's lots of articles and TikToks and YouTubes telling you how to make this cake. I don't want to make a Tom Cruise cake. I want to be.
It might be cheaper to do that though. To make like a small version.
You're right. $126 Tom Cruise cake. You heard it, yeah. These are the things we endeavor to bring you on that 80 show.
I think this cake is going to go on my bucket list. That I need to somehow taste this cake.
I mean,
even if I have to make it myself.
if it's like Tom Cruise is sending me the cake, like that's Tom Cruise's cake, right? What are other celebrities sending though? Like if Tom Cruise is sending cake, like who's sending you like, a ham? Like people are sending you hams, like these gifts. So, but something like that's so rich for me. I couldn't do that. A little piece. But Dory, listen, you bake the cake.
Yeah.
You let me know. You let us know. You feedback.
Well, I can't bake. I'll get someone to do it for me.
We get someone to.
I'm useless in the kitchen.
Someone who can bake us a Tom Cruise cake for not $126. A very specific amount as well, $126. So, as I was saying, I been watching a lot of stuff and go on to DSTV, which is the local satellite network, and they got Robocop 1, 2, and 3. I was like, I gotta watch it. I've got to watch it. I haven't watched Robocop since the 80s, maybe 80s, early 90s.
Really?
Oh, I haven't. Right?
So you wanted to re-traumatize yourself.
So this is the thing. Because, listen, I watched Robocop a lot, right? I watched it a shitload. And it's this thing where you say, people say, oh, violent video games and movies and whatever make you violent. No, I'm not a violent person because Robocop was so ridiculously violent, right? And it was rated R. I mean, that's PG-13. Okay, it came out in 1987. I was probably watching it like 8, 9, 10.
Why do I remember it being 2 to 18 here?
It was rated R.
No.
There must be multiple versions. Oh, you idiot. No, this is the new Robocop. Sorry, it's the new Robocop. But it was only rated high. Do you know what? It was only rated high because of the drug use, not because of the violence.
Not because of the melting skin.
No. And that's the thing that stays with you on Robocop, right? So this is the thing. There are 3 things that struck me from rewatching Robocop because we all remember, we remember Clarence Bodica and his gang shooting Alex Murphy into meat, right?
Yep.
They shot him into meat. He didn't they shot him with shotguns into meat. They shot his hand off, his arm off, meat, right?
Totally remember that.
Oh my God.
And I promise you, I last watched it in the 90s and I remember it so clearly.
You can see it right now. I'm telling you, so many people listening right now go, I can see that. I can see him being shot into meat, right?
Yep.
So many violence. Even Clarence Bodica, how he dies. It's just even the scene where they bring out that kind of that other robot that's supposed to enforce crime, the bad guy robot. And in the board meeting, he shoots the guy in the board meeting. He just shoots him. And they go oh, that's terrible. Well, clean that up. It's like a fucking military machine just shot a guy into pieces, right? There's the guy falls out the roof. Or out of the building. It's ridiculously violent.
It's very Gen X. Okay, moving on.
No, and as a kid, you're watching that, you go, they shot that guy into meat. And it's not even over the top. It's not even cartoony type violence. Because sometimes you can see Star Warsy stuff and you go, oh, that's, it's not realistic. It's that's very realistic.
It was.
That's very realistic, right? But that's not what struck me because those are the things you remember. Three things struck me rewatching Robocop. So the first thing is Robocop straight out the bat. And this is something I'm sure has changed here. Because you know what they do in Robocop now is things like you pick up later is how they use these little news clips and ads and they intersperse them to kind of create this picture that big corporations and news corporations are actually the evil. Not the guys on the street are bad guys. The real evil comes in big corporation. And they do that through these news articles, through these little news bulletins, right? Very kind of futuristic 3-minute news corporations trying to corrupt your mind.
Subversive. That's why the film did so well.
Paul Verhoeven. I mean, of course he's going to put things like that in there, right? But the top story straight out the bat is about apartheid South Africa. They don't say the word apartheid.
Ooh.
The first story straight up, the first little news article, I mean, your first introduction in Robocop, they say, we're going now, a story from Pretoria, in that there is an impending nuclear confrontation because the minority government is now activating a French-made neutron bomb, which then got me going. Olivia, neutron bomb as a French-made. No, don't go there. Come back.
No.
Right? And they were prepared to use it, all shot with like actual like footage, news footage from apartheid South Africa. Like the old Caspers were there and the apartheid cops were there. It was like actual riots that they were using, and then they were intercutting. I was like, they didn't show that here. Robocop
No, there's
did
not a chance, because I do not remember that.
Mid-80s Robocop did not start like that here. Just to say that if you're in another country, the apartheid government in South Africa edited a lot of our movies and TV shows.
Censored.
Yes. A lot of things. And I do not remember that. Maybe it wasn't relevant, but I'm sure if you're a kid, like in the 80s in South Africa, and Robocop, your favorite movie, references South Africa, that's going to stick in your mind, surely.
But I watched Robocop, like I said, in the 90s, not on the big screen or anything. And I don't remember that. But maybe I just don't remember it.
Yeah. And the irony is,
give it another go.
They were talking about nuclear power. Now we have no power. So that didn't come to pass. The next thing that strikes me is so many, like we know the Knight Rider theme song, Airwolf, Rambo, Rocky had a theme song. We remember Terminator. I forgot that Robocop had a theme song. And it's actually quite awesome. Yeah, I'm going to play it. Take a listen to this. Typical 80s build-up.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. Can kind of see where it's going. But once you hear it, you remember it. It's pretty good, right?
It's very
Imperial Death March.
kind of yes.
Star Wars.
Or even that scene from Apocalypse Now,
Yes.
It's very orchestral and grand, and
It's very much of the era. I suppose maybe that's why it doesn't stand out by itself, because it's a mix of so many differents. Right? There's a bit of an A-Team vibe in there. There's lots of Star Wars, and maybe that's why it didn't stand out. Right? And then
I don't know.
The third thing that stood out for me rewatching Robocop. So, do you remember another violent scene was the street thug getting shot in the balls by Robocop? Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. I remember that because it's hilarious that a guy got shot in the balls. And there's actually a company that makes action figures of secondary characters in movies, right?
Okay.
And they make the guy who got shot in the balls by Robocop, right? So they got a whole range of just guys who like met bad ends, like side characters, and they make action figures out of them. So this scene, right? Robocop is now going out on patrol, his first night out, and he's called to a 415 in progress. This woman is getting chased by these lunatic street thugs, 2 guys, 1 woman, and they now catch her, they grab her, and they're like tripping balls, whatever. They're like freaking out. They're crazy. They got a knife and they're threatening her with a knife and they're laughing. And then she's got this like really curly blonde hair and they cut a piece of her hair off, right? And they're laughing and killing themselves laughing. And then they go, and this is the part that stood out for me because it's so weird. They go, hey, you know what? She's also got hair down there. And then they now want to go cut that hair.
That is so weird.
What a weird scene. And then the guy gets shot in the balls by Robocop.
Right.
It's weird, right? So
I don't remember that. That is weird.
Exactly. So I'm getting a fuller Robocop experience rewatching Robocop like 30 years later, just 35 years later. So do yourself a favor, rewatch Robocop. Peter Weller, I should have checked this before. I wonder if he's still alive because he wasn't doing well at one stage. He was.
I don't know.
He was ill.
Are you checking? Do you want me to check?
I'm quickly checking. Yeah, no, he's still alive, 75 years old. But I know he was sickly at one stage, but he's fine. And also, I got to tell you, right? So obviously, Boddicker, the main bad guy from RoboCop, then goes on a few years later to appear in that 70s show as Red, as the dad.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yes.
Couldn't watch it.
Yes.
I couldn't watch the 70s show. I couldn't.
Really?
Because I was like, you're going to shoot your son into meat. Every time Ashton Kutcher came, he's like, you're shooting Ashton Kutcher into meat. So I was like, I can't. You're too evil. I can't believe that you've reformed. So that's my viewing of Robocop. And believe it or not, we haven't even hit the movie segment of the show.
We have though.
We have. It's a very, very movie-based show today. So, Dori, you have not had time to watch a movie.
No, I haven't even had time to think of a movie.
No, that's fine. That's fine. As you can hear, doing the work for you.
You really are.
So, I've been in a bit of a Nicolas Cage space. I don't know why. I told you last week, his new movie with Pedro Pascal, The Incredible Weight of Massive Talent. I then started watching Army of One with Russell Brand as God.
Yeah.
And so kind of like, let's go the full hog of Nicolas Cage. And you mentioned Nicolas Cage last week when you spoke about Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
Great movie, by the way. Great movie. Great scene. Great Phoebe Cates scene. Let's just say. Let's just say. And kind of like, I'm in the same genre as that movie. Literally the same area. In the 80s, we had this concept, at least this is the way movies and TV shows presented it to us, right? That was set in the time. Because we don't know. I've never been to Los Angeles. Is that you've kind of got in LA, you've got inner city, right, between 80s. Then you've got your like hoods, where it's like Compton, Inglewood, and East LA. And that's kind of like where your hood movies, Blood In, Blood Out, those movies are set. Boys in the Hood. Then you've got Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Beverly Hills, right? You got that side. And then you had the Valley, right? Which is kind of where Fast Time in Ridgemont High. And the first time I realized the Valley was in Thrashing, right? Because the Valley girls, or people from the Valley, were like kind of like, no one in 80s movies really liked anyone from the Valley, right? Because they were fake and manufactured and wanted to be rich, but they weren't that rich. But right? And then you had also the guys at Venice Beach and Long Beach and that. So you had the like skaters and surfers, right? And they all actually, like, no one liked people from the Valley because they were like, the Hollywood guys didn't like them, Beverly Hills guys didn't like them, the guys at the beach no one liked people from the Valley. Because the Valley was kind of like, if you don't know, the Valley was that very typical, like, gnarly, SF, whatever, that kind of clueless type thing, right? That was how they represented people from the Valley. And it's where the first malls kind of came up, and where that like real like kind of stereotypical 80s mall culture, airhead, bimbo, like dudes wearing two like polo shirts kind of stereotype came from. And it was captured in the movie I'm going to talk about today, Nicolas Cage's first starring role. Okay, because Fast Times at Ridgemont High is just a person. First starring role, a movie called Valley Girl, which I'm sure you watched.
I don't know if I've definitely heard of it. I don't know if I've watched it, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so Valley Girl, it's kind of like a grittier John Hughes movie.
Ooh.
Because it's got everything that a John Hughes movie has, but it's grittier. It's a little bit darker, but it's still like fun, but not too much. It's like, it's a grittier John Hughes movie, right? So very much in that, you've got this Valley Girl played by Deborah Foreman. She never really went on to do anything. She's like, goes to malls, hangs out, party lifestyle, got the kind of like football star jock boyfriend, right? And she goes to a party and meets Nicolas Cage's character, who's from Beverly Hills, but he's like underground, alternate scene, like not into that poppy stuff. And he introduces her to his whole world, where it's like punk music and it's like really gritty and edgy. And it's
it's rebellious.
Rebellious, right? And he's like cultured and he like knows bands and he knows artists, but they're both young. And it's this Romeo and Juliet type of story, right?
Okay.
It plays weird. So, like I say, it's a grittier John Hughes. So it's got the silly elements, but then it does get like a little bit dark and a little bit off. And then friends get involved. They try to keep them apart. It ends quite limp. It's not. Yeah. But Nicolas Cage, fantastic. Like, you remember last week I said in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, they have young Nicolas Cage. Yeah. This is that young Nicolas Cage, right? And he plays it really well, really intense. You got to try believe that he's a teenager or like in his early 20s. Kind of doesn't really work. But a very controversial movie because Frank Zappa, of all people, tried to shut the movie down.
Why did Frank Zappa try to shut the movie down? Why?
So he had a song, I can't make out, because Frank Zappa kept changing his name or his kids had weird names. Anyway, he had a song or was involved in a song called Valley Girl, right? Which was kind of like saying like these people from the Valley are shit, right? And then when the movie came out, they're like, no, now you're contravening my copyright and try to get the movie shut down because it's like, well, now people are going to think the movies and the song's related and they actually like counter each other, but that didn't really work for him. So fun movie. It's okay. It's fine. You would, depending on the mood you're going to be in when you watch it, you're either going to think it's great or it's going to suck. But
I'm definitely willing to give it a chance because, as you know, I don't like anything that Nicolas Cage has been in the last couple of decades. So going back in time, I'm willing to try.
Okay. So you're going to enjoy this, right? Because the soundtrack, because the whole thing's based around music, right? You cannot have this guy who's like really into music and goes to all the cool clubs and not have a great soundtrack. Yeah. The soundtrack, I've got the link here. We're going to put on that 80 Show SA Facebook page so you can listen to. But I mean, this goes from like Love My Way by the Psychedelic Furs. It's got the Sparks in there. It's got the Payolas, Plimsolls, Everywhere at Once. But then it's got like your classics. It's got Who Can It Be Now by Men at Work. It's got A Town Called Malice by The Jam.
Jeez,
Culture Club, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? I Eat Cannibal, got Bananarama. So it's so diverse. And the soundtrack is really, really good as you go through the movie. I mean, this is 24 songs.
I think it's one of those movies I need to watch, like I needed to watch Fast Times.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's an iconic film that I have heard of, but never. I don't think I've seen it. I really don't.
No, but give it a watch. Nicolas Cage in it. Have you seen the meme where they replace David Schwimmer or Ross Geller's face with Nicolas Cage and it looks the same?
No.
So there's a meme that does that. So they've taken Nicolas Cage's face and put it on David Schwimmer, and you can't tell. It's actually ridiculous. You cannot tell the difference. That's what Nicolas Cage looks like in this movie. He looks like David Schwimmer. But with Flock of Seagulls hair. His hair does spectacular things.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage's hair does spectacular things. So the soundtrack is fantastic. Now here, because I'm all about search, I'm all about being on trend, I'm all about putting words that are going to get us noticed, right? And in South Africa this week was our Prime Week. Prime, the energy drink or the hydration drink. Doria and I both own tweens. They go ballistic over this, right?
Mine does not give a shit.
I'm
happy to say.
No, mine didn't give a shit, then gave a shit. But I tell you, don't get... Anyway, so Logan Paul, of course, YouTuber, the guy. Because I'm just looking for a reason to put Logan Paul and Prime into our show notes so it can be searched.
Of course, yes. Of course, SEO, I know.
So Valley Girl got remade. Right?
When?
Last year. Past 18 months.
Okay.
Got remade past 18 months. Alicia Silverstone's in it. And kind of, I haven't watched it. It was on in the background. And her daughter kind of says, no, she got dumped. And Alicia Silverstone now wants to tell her daughter the story. And I can't quite put together if she now retells the story of the first movie and she's the main character. Kind of like retelling. I think they kind of got that device going, right? So the new one is set in the 80s, but it's kind of like from the perspective of now and how she envisioned this version of the movie, right? But it's like gone from like quite a gritty teenage movie to like a real like Disney style High School Musical type thing, right? But why I brought it up so I can mention Logan Paul is because Logan Paul was meant to be in the remake of Valley Girl, right?
Okay.
As one of the douchebag friends. And this was, but they pulled him out and they delayed, this is why they claim they delayed the release of the movie, because this was the time when he did that video with a guy in Japan. I don't know if you Google that. I don't want to talk about the story. Just Logan Paul.
No, I know what you're referring to.
Japan controversy, right? So the production were like, no, we can't have that heat. Like, he's a big name, but no. And it's the demographic we want. We're not doing that.
People didn't want to touch him for a while after that.
A long time, right? So I want to touch his name on the SEO. So that's neither here nor there, but I just needed in this week to be able to say his name and put it in our search. So that's it. That's the only reason I tell you about that. But anyway, the original one, Valley Girl, it is around. You can hire it from places. It's on the Google Play Store. I think 19 Rand, cheap. So give that a watch. You'll like it, Dory. I have a feeling this will be a movie that you'll watch and you go, oh my God, that's actually fantastic. I actually love the shit out of it.
I mean, you said a dark version of John Hughes. That's literally two of my favorite things.
That's what I'm saying. And you'll love the soundtrack. I mean, there's some names here that I'm not even going to mention on the soundtrack that you will be all over. Did you hear that weird little thing my voice did? That you will be all over. So that is my movie recommendation, the official one, because I'm recommending Tetris, Robocop, like everything. The official one is Valley Girl from the 1980s, 1983 as well. So you must know there's
40 years old.
40 years old. So there's a real punk feel to the music. It's like very punky, very very late 70s punky, which you're gonna love. So that's Valley Girl, right? And I may continue down this Nicolas Cage viewing experience. Who knows? So I want to bring something to the court. We think we know a lot about AHA, you and I, right?
Do we?
We make up a lot of stuff about AHA.
Okay.
And we haven't spoken about them in a while. So I learned something new about AHA this week, though. Okay. So so AHA, obviously, Morten, Paul, and I'm going to try to get his name right, Magna. I think that's right. Yeah. Morten, Paul, Magna.
Magne.
Okay.
Who knows?
We're upsetting so many Scandinavian.
It's the Upset the Scandinavians show.
I mean, it's just, we do apologize. But before Morten was part of AHA, Paul and Magna had a band called Bridges in Norway, right?
Bridges,
right?
Okay.
And they released the song that would become Take On Me. Now, with Take On Me, the version we hear now, it's not so much the version, the video we see now wasn't the original video. We know the iconic video, the hand-drawn thing.
Yes.
Morten comes out, pulls you into a comic book, right? That wasn't the original video. They had other videos, but they were just like, it's not working. And then until they released, because like, we got to get the video right. Heart of MTV, if we get the video right, these guys break massive. But Take On Me, they had actually recorded and released while they were part of the band called The Bridges. Now, if you're listening live, you're going to get this. You're probably listening on the podcast. We will put the link on that 80 Show SA Facebook page now. So just go to that 80 Show SA Facebook page and you'll find this so you can hear it, right? This is the song that would become Take On Me. And it's not going to take you long to realize why it wasn't a success.
Okay.
So
I don't know what to say.
that is so weird, and things I did not know until recently. So, but that is two members of AHA with a different singer. His name was Ray Manzarek. And
Ray Manzarek.
No,
the
sorry,
Doors.
I'm lying. He's inspired. They were inspired by Ray Manzarek from the Doors. Right? He was trying to do a Ray Manzarek from the Doors, the original singer. And so they released the song, and kind of nothing happened. They broke up the band The Bridges. They went to London to now try have a career in London. Didn't really work out. They get back to Norway, and the record company's like, there's this kid we want you to meet, and we think he may be the missing piece to your band. And the rest is history.
I mean, he's my missing piece to many things.
Hey.
Just saying.
Now? So how awesome is that? Not the song. I mean, that is a piece of shit.
No, that was horrible. Wow.
So,
I mean, it had that riff, that recognizable riff, but everything else was horrible.
I know, just terrible. Like, if I discovered that, because it's labeled the Bridges. There's nothing in there like that tells you this goes on to become Take On Me, and you just listen to this ska crap rubbish band trying to do Take On Me, because there's so many variations of it, and so weird. You just change. I got it, Dory. I got it.
What?
You know how you can have, like we spoke about Tom Cruise's cake earlier. Like, what separates Tom Cruise's cake, right, from any other cake? It's because Tom Cruise chose that cake. What makes that abomination of music, right? You add one element. That's what the show's missing before we go global. Got to replace me.
Right.
Got to replace me. All the elements are there. That's one thing that's wrong.
You are irreplaceable. Don't be ridiculous.
They got to replace me, Dory. We've got to find someone.
No.
I'll do it for you, Dory. I'll do it for your worldwide
fame. There
fame.
is no 80s show without you, Paulo.
It's worldwide fame. It's would you not do that? Would you not do that if you got offered the chance? Say, right, Dory, we could make this 80s show exactly as it is, and it's gonna make you world famous, super rich, super successful. We've got to replace that guy. We got David Hasselhoff.
No.
We've got David Hasselhoff to co-host with you.
What?
David Hasselhoff will co-host that 80s show with you. You take it.
I'd take it if it was J Bay and no one else.
Not even David Hasselhoff.
No.
Dory, that is a loyal friend. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is loyal friend. Started out in a little sweaty booth on the 4th floor doing this. My God, our first studio is sweaty. Jesus, how far we've come.
How far?
A lot of shit we spoke today. I quickly want to finish off on Richard Grieco. Richard Grieco. What happened?
That is a name I have not heard in many years.
Right. And he's not totally 80s, because he came back end of the 90s, but you got to go. He was a pinup in the 80s. So obviously Richard Grieco shows up on 21 Jump Street with Johnny Depp, right? 21 Jump Street ratings were starting to fail. It's okay, try a couple of things. Brad Pitt was also on 21 Jump Street. Do you know that? I just found that out.
I remember Johnny Depp was on 21 Jump Street, but I do not remember Brad Pitt. No.
Brad Pitt showed up as just a quick character, in and out. And Richard Grieco was supposed to be the same, because Richard Grieco came in and played another cop called Dennis Booker, right? And 21 Jump Street, they go undercover as high school kids. Yeah, fucking high schools. So much crime.
Catch people with dwellums.
Oh.
It was about the dwellums.
Week after week after week.
The drugs.
I think it's so limited how many stories you can set in a high school. But anyway, crimes.
I mean, what are they doing other than that? What are these high school kids up to?
It's selling counterfeit prime. That's what they'd be doing today. But so anyway, he shows up and his character becomes super successful because Richard Grieco is like super hot. And then they start pitching Johnny Depp and Richard Grieco together. So Johnny Depp starts getting pissed off. The producers go, listen, why have two guys in one hit show when you can have two hit shows? And they gave Richard Grieco his own show. Okay. Dennis Booker.
Right.
They called it Booker. And I remember on a Sunday night, they'd show the two of them together in South Africa. So we had 21 Jump Street into Booker. All right. So the spin-off, they were together.
I never got into Booker.
No one did.
Wasn't my thing.
No one did. It lasted, they cancelled it after a season. Because now they started in 1989 and then we went into the 90s. And then kind of like, okay, that was its thing. Booker didn't work. Richard Grieco then goes into a movie, If Looks Could Kill, kind of not dissimilar to the plot of 21 Jump Street. He's a high school kid, gets involved in the mob. They're trying to take him out. And his career doesn't really take off because Christian Slater, Patrick Dempsey, and Anthony Quinn were in this movie with Richard Grieco, If Looks Could Kill. That is a hell of a lineup. But the movie flops.
Yeah.
The movie flops with so many people. Anyway, he's got money. He's super famous. He's a pinup. He doesn't take any movie roles for 2 years. He just parties LA lifestyle. Viper Room, Jack Daniels. He's like, I'm just going to be pseudo Johnny Depp, River Phoenix, parallel. Let's see where this whole thing ends up. Going to date Yasmin Bleeth from Baywatch. Destructive relationship because they both had addictions, in and out of rehab.
Yeah. I see he turned down the role that Keanu Reeves played in the movie Speed. He was originally offered that role.
Here's the thing though. Richard Grieco's a shit actor. I mean, Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Keanu
Reeves plays Keanu Reeves, but he's very good at it.
He's very good in Speed. He is like
phenomenal.
He is who he is, and he's not great, but there's certain movies he's great in, and that's one of the movies he's great in. Here's
what happened. So, hey, Richard Grieco, we got this movie for you called Speed. I'm in. I'm taking it. I'm in. No. It's about a bus. Oh, not drugs. Oh, no, I'm out. No movie for me here. I'm out.
Wait, I'm not playing an undercover high school kid. I'm out.
Can it be a school bus at least? Can it be a runaway school bus? Right? It's very much my range.
Oh my God.
In 2011, when Charlie Sheen, so long ago, 2011, Charlie Sheen was losing his mind and they're going to replace him on 2.5 Men. Richard Grieco pitched himself. And he said, I'm more stable than Charlie Sheen. Yeah, probably, but it's not. It's
he was just that guy who was just never quite it.
No, he made fun of himself in Night at the Roxbury. Thought that'd like kind of get him in good books, but nothing really worked. He did music, king of like, I'm not even talking B grade, C grade stuff. And now in his late 50s, with his teen idol days long behind him, Grieco may never again reach the heights of fame and success he enjoyed in his youth, but he's got no plans to retire. Which, I mean, good on him. I don't think it's really up to him.
Shame.
Yeah, but if you woke up this morning, wondering whatever happened to Richard Grieco, now you know.
Well, I haven't wondered that, but now I know.
Do you think, kind of weirdly enough, different scales, but I mean, also ended up in shambles like Johnny Depp. So they started pitched against each other, end up in kind of in the same place. So,
I mean, Johnny Depp is in the place he is because I think he hung out with Hunter S. Thompson too much and took way too many drugs.
Oh yeah,
that's what happened to Johnny Depp.
And
he was fine before that.
Richard Grieco hung out with Colonel Bobson under the bridge and took way too many drugs. So it's
my God.
So this has been that 80s show. So many things. Dory, I carried the can for you this week with a movie recommendation. I put so many others.
I will make it up to you. Hopefully.
This week's episode.
Do my best.
This week's episode, I feel like is gold standard. I mean,
really?
So much, Dory, so much information we just shoved in there. So much.
I mean, we had cake. We had melting flesh. We had balls being shot off.
And
Dwellums. What more do you want?
And that was only in the first 20 minutes. So share this podcast with a friend, that 80 show. The 80 show universe is always growing. Dory has been tempted. She'll be tempted.
I do want people who are listening to us from overseas to maybe message us on our Facebook page and tell us where they're listening from and why they like the show. I'm kind of curious.
I am.
You know?
I'd like to know. Is it...
Especially the people in India?
We have listeners.
What's that about?
We have listeners in Germany. Could it be David Hasselhoff?
Okay.
Could he be scouting? Could he be saying, that's it, global stardom, I'm replacing that guy?
Oh, well, now I've turned him down as a co-host. That's the end of that.
The Hoff is made of stronger stuff. As always, thanks for joining me, Dory. That 80 Show SA, everything we spoke about on that 80 Show SA Facebook page. Thanks for joining me, Dory, and goodbye.
Bye.